Is Thursday, and that means we are back in Lynn Matava's kitchen. Lynn is a nutrition educator with the University of Maryland Extension.
And if you're looking for a way to preserve your herbs this season, Lynn has the perfect tutorial for you. Let's check it out.
It's a good time to talk about food preservation. I've shown you how to freeze herbs and preserve them in ways to use later on, such as making pesto and then putting them in the freezer. But today we're going to talk about drying herbs. So why do we want to dry herbs? Well, it's a great way to keep them so that we have them a little longer because it's going to extend the shelf life. We're going to lower the moisture content, and that helps prevent some of that microbial growth that happens that makes food go bad. And so there's different ways we can dry herbs. There's methods for putting them in the microwave. You can use oven drying. You could purchase equipment such as a food dehydrator. But what I'm going to show you, all you need is some string and a paper bag that's food safe, which is any lunch bag typically. This one's a little bit smaller. And we're just going to hang them indoors for 1 to 2 weeks. So it's really easy and it's affordable and it's just something that anyone can do. And the benefit to doing this is we're going to save some money by drying herbs if we have them growing outside, because those little jars that you get from the store can get pretty expensive. And herbs, by drying them, we're going to have them available year round, and they're going to be really concentrated in flavor. So when you dry herbs, you get 3 to 4 times concentration of flavor, which is going to help us control the sugar, fat, and salt and other things that we add to our food. We can flavor our food with these herbs and make our meals much healthier. So for best practices, what we're going to do is pick out whatever herbs we're using, and we are going to wash and thoroughly dry them. So that's what I've done, and that's why they're out on this towel here. And we really just want to pick whatever herb we're using and then kind of get started from there. So if you have something like this basil, it's a more tender leaf herb, something like oregano or marjoram, mint, lemon balm. Those are all more tender leaf. They're going to have more moisture, and they're probably going to take a little bit more time to dry versus some of our less tender herbs such as parsley, rosemary, sage, thyme. And so I've got some rosemary here. I've also got some thyme. I've even got some savory, my sage, and these are all going to dry probably a little more quickly, and they're just less tender. But so I've got some basil here. We're going to start with that, and then all we're basically doing is loosely bundling these herbs. I don't want to squeeze them together too much because I want to allow airflow and limit that microbial growth. We don't want any, bacteria or fungus growing in there if we can avoid it. We're going to take a bag and use a hole puncher. This is the only one you can find, or you can use some scissors and put some holes in it. I've got a bag here that I've already put some holes in. We don't need a ton. We're just adding holes for airflow. And I'm going to fit this basil. I don't want to bruise it, so I'm just gently pushing it down into this bag. There's good airflow in there. There's good movement around the herb. And then I'm going to tie this string around this bag here. Now you could get fancy with your knots. I'm just doing a square knot here because it's nice and secure. And then when I cut this string, I'm making sure, or twine is actually what I'm using, I'm making sure I have enough that I can hang it from somewhere in my kitchen. So it's really important that we find a place that is has good airflow, doesn't have a lot of humidity. We want to keep it away from our stove and microwave because those emit heat. And also we don't want to put these outdoors in Maryland because it's just not recommended. We get way too much humidity in the state of Maryland, so that's not going to allow these to dry thoroughly. And then really all we have to do, they're hung upside down. We are going to put this aside for 1 to 2 weeks in a place with good air circulation. Once they're dry, we're going to put them in an airtight container for storage. And we're just going to put them someplace in the dark, so in a cabinet or in a herb drawer, whatever you're using, and away from the sun or light or heat. And these are going to last for several months, which is pretty cool. The more tender they are, the quicker you want to use them. Basil, it's going to lose flavor. It's going to start getting a little bit lackluster, and eventually it's just not going to be as great. So we'd want to use those earlier in the season. And some of these other herbs we could probably use, like the rosemary or the sage. These will be good for the majority of the winter. I hope this is something you check out. For more information on drying and preserving herbs, you can check out the University of Maryland Extension's Family and Consumer Sciences website, and we have all sorts of resources there. And also reach out to your local extension office because we also have have many upcoming food preservation workshops that you can check out.
Now, as a reminder, we do have all of Nutrition Educator Lynn Matava's tips and tricks on our website. Just head to WMDT.com and click on the Good Morning Delmarva page.
And share your version of this delicious way to preserve those herbs by using the hashtag UMDYum.
I definitely